Work Services Committee for September the 24th. Would join me in invocation, please. Come to you and we thank you for this day. Thank you for the many blessings you bestowed on us. You are so good and so gracious to us. Lord, we thank you for your grace and your mercy. Lord, I lift up those people that are struggling in different ways, different situations, that have been with loss of family members, or people that are dealing with sickness and illness and just the stress of living. Lord, we just ask you to be with each and all of those people that are going through those times. Lord, I thank you for each and every member of staff and one that works for Columbia County and the job that they do, and we thank you and we ask you to protect them and save them, bless them in all they do. All these things I pray in your precious name.
Amen.
Don't send a pledge.
Pledge allegiance. Flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Have a forum this morning. Y'all have gone over the minutes of the previous meeting. I'd like to have a motion for approval.
So move, sir.
Mr. Johnson, any changes to the agenda?
Not to my knowledge, Mr. Chairman.
Presentations, we'll go right down to the debate agenda and business. Doctor, I believe you're up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The first one is a signatory authorization for Don Bartles to submit Georgia EPD solid waste compliance reporting. You do have a list here of the types of reports that we have to submit to EPD. EPD has switched to an electronic filing system versus our paper reporting. So this request is to allow Don Bartles to submit those for the chairman. If not, the chairman will have to submit them. Recommend that Don receive that.
Move to consent.
Second.
All right, one quick question, and I asked this Friday afternoon, I think, but I'd like to say it in public again, because I've been asked many times about wanting to use some of the property out there, and that coming forward in the future, and target, I think, maybe some bow and arrow, and a lot of conversation about the flying the planes and stuff like that. Do we see that happen? And maybe
The archery is happening. They have a section that we're allowing them to use. It's not part of the permitted landfill. It's actually part of the borrow pit that's been reclaimed. That does not require EPD authorization. The 4-H club, I guess they're doing skeet shooting up there. We did look at putting some lanes up there with a brick wall separating. They're using wooden separating walls right now. When we submitted that to EPD, they basically came back and said, how are you going to mitigate all the lead that you're putting out here in the landfill? They're shooting over the line portion. Pretty good process to mitigate lead that you're shooting out of these shotguns. And based on the number of shots you take per year, they were able to calculate how much lead was going to be on the ground. So that was a hurdle for us to overcome. The plane you would think is not a big deal. The problem is they don't want people out there on the land, the capped part of the landfill that has the liner in it. They wanted fence. Yeah, actually, I lied. The club wanted some fencing to keep the patrons separate from the planes. EPD wanted us out there putting fences in the ground because we'd pierce the cap and allow intrusion into the landfill. So we changed that to concrete barricades that didn't require penetration into the cap. Solve that problem. They were concerned with the methane vents being hit by these planes and causing an explosion. So we put shields around these methane vents. So everything they throw at us, we would remedy that, but we still have not get them to tell us, yes, you can go. So we've been told no, formally told no twice on formal submittals. We've accomplished everything they told us that we need to accomplish. We just still have not got that third final approval. Staff, Mr. Bartles, who knows EPD, landfill regulations better than anybody, very concerned that if we ask one more time and we get told a third time no, there's no more asking. It's quite a situation. Other communities are using their landfills for green space. I don't know why this one's different.
All right, well, it is a nice property that hopefully we'll be able to use. Thank you for that update. All right, next item.
Next one I have for you is it's a developer agreement with Maybom LLC. So when they built Whispering Pines, there's going to be about 712 units when they finally build out that project directly across the street from Berkeley Hills. They have put in turn lanes, both left and right turn lanes. They've actually built turn lanes into Berkeley Hills as well. But when they get done building out this entire neighborhood, there's going to need to be additional improvements. They've agreed to pay $80,000 towards those improvements. So once trigger a signal, trigger a four-way stop would never happen there. But if that ever was triggered, once those improvements are made, then Maybom would contribute $80,000 towards those improvements. Just for a cost idea, if we were to put a traffic signal out there, you're looking $250,000 to build the traffic signal. Not quite half, but I'm not sure that quite half is their traffic. I'm sure the majority of the traffic is county traffic on Williamview Parkway and coming out of Berkeley Hills. So we feel it's a fair number to contribute to that signal. Staff has reviewed this agreement as well as legal. Staff recommend approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
I have another question. Do you know what the roundabout would run?
It would be expensive. It'd be in the millions.
Hey, do we have the funds if it comes back, the study, or are we gonna move forward?
Yeah, I think
I mean, once the need is there,
well, but I really believe that the signal will be the way that we go there, not a roundabout, just because of the traffic distribution. Our mainline traffic is going to highly outweigh our side street traffic. When you have an unbalanced traffic like that, you go with the signal, not a circle.
so do we have funding in place when that comes?
We do have some transportation loss money that's set aside for these occasions.
It's not for this project, but we have money available for projects like this. So the commission can give us the direction at that time. We don't want to earmark, certain projects like this, obviously, in case other things come up. But when it comes up and when it meets the warrants, we'll definitely come back, or if the commission or the committee wants us to go forward with that, we'll identify the funding.
When we do the study and warrants, I think it's something that we will need to address at that time and not say, no, it's come. We do know it's coming.
There's definitely a need.
700
There's a need there.
houses.
Staff's monitoring it. They're doing traffic projections, so we're just not sitting back and waiting. They're watching. And when it triggers, we'll be right back in front of you. Next one I have for you is another agreement. This is for the Longhorn project out on Lewiston Road. Murray Brothers Land Development is required to put in a decel lane per DOT. But that's right in the middle of our big TIA project that we're close to putting out on the streets for bid. So instead of them going out there and building a turn lane that we have to go in there and tear out and then rebuild, they've agreed to give us $19,229.47, which would be the cost to build their decel lane. We'll apply that money to the TIA project. Staff's recommend approval of this agreement.
Move to consent.
Second.
Clayton.
Don't want you to guard against meteorites or anything. I'm sorry. Never mind. Have for your consideration this first item. On September the 10th, we received bids for the construction of a portable bridge that is used in field repairs. The low bid was submitted by McCooch. Thank you. That word is looking like clutch to me, but anyway, McCooch Steel of Augusta in the amount of $64,644, and we recommend approval of that low bid.
What are we doing with this?
Building a bridge to the River Kwai. No,
I've seen that.
a lot of the areas where we access sewers, the sewer will be kind of like on the other side of the creek to where we have access at. In other words, you'd have to come through some folks' yard to get through it this way, but if you come across on the other side, you can just get right to it. Well, these portable bridges help us span those creeks when we have to get from one side to the other without a lot of environmental permitting. And we do have to make it as a certain length, size, and strength because we carry fairly heavy equipment across it. So that's what we use. Well, we've been renting them up until this point in time, but We just thought it would be best for us to have one on hand in those times.
Is this similar to a combat engineer span bridge?
It is.
It is, all right.
It doesn't. It comes in two pieces. It has to be connected. Those, fold in half like that.
Move to consent.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So moved.
Engineering proposal from the engineering firm Zale for the design, bid, and construction for the demolition and replacement of the sluice gates that are on our outfall structures that are settling ponds out at the Clark Hill water treatment plant. This is a budgeted item in our current budget at an amount of $200,000. They are now telling me they think that the project only run $105,000. Their proposal is for a lump sum of $7,500, and we would recommend approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
Now, this one caught me by surprise. Got notified by the Corps of Engineers a couple months ago, says your easement is about up. I said, what easement? They said your water line easement between Wildwood Park and Keg Creek. Of course, that's Clarksville, and that's core land in there. And of course, we always were under the assumption we were on the 104 highway right away. But who knew, back 25 years ago, I think it was Richard Reynolds signed an easement with them and gave them a certain amount of money. Now they're wanting another $4,500 for the easement. And this will only be for another 25 years. So I don't know what kind of easement you call that and what you're paying for. I guess it's more like a rental. I don't know what would happen if we didn't pay for it. I don't know if they go out there and tear our line out or not, but obviously we can't do that. And they would like payment to be rendered in like-kind service. So we looked at all of their accounts. They picked out the Petersburg Landing water account as the one they would like to see credited. So that's okay with me, and we'll do that. And I'd like to I just want to make sure that the Board of Commissioners were aware of that transaction and that I could get approval that when the easement document actually gets here, we can authorize the chairman to sign off on it.
Second.
So moved. Surprised me when I saw it.
Yep. In all my years, I've never heard of such a thing. A change order for the Crawford Creek sanitary sewer issued to Blair. We run into a lot of rock out there at Girl Scout Camp Tanglewood, which is now going to require us to do overnight pumping on bypass mode. And that was not included in the original bid. They're requesting a change order in an amount of $11,000, which would adjust that contract price to $1,560,668.31, and we would recommend approval.
Motion, move to consent with the question.
Yes, sir.
Is this within the allocated fund
Yes.
margin? Okay.
Second.
So moved.
On the Greenbrier Forest Main, we just let this contract here just a couple of months ago, and what they're gonna be doing there is when they make that board, they're gonna actually be pulling this continuous piece of pipe. Well, the pipe manufacturer got to looking at that and said, you know, fellas, y'all might wanna go with just a little thicker wall. That's such a long pull. We're concerned that you may start stretching that pipe and weakening it. I don't want to do that, not in this particular area. So they've recommended that we go with the thicker size wall pipe. It would change that contract in the amount of $4,476, bringing that contract amount to $326,883.50, and we would recommend approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
For your consideration, a memorandum of understanding between GDOT and Columbia County that would cover utility relocations that are going to be required for the construction work that's going to take place on the I-20 State Route 47 improvements and the associated intersections right in there. We'd recommend approval that the MOU be executed.
Move to consent.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Legal items, Mr. Driver. Staff report, Mr. Clayton.
Yes, sir. For your information purposes, both our expenditure and revenue totals up to date, and they look about right on line. Along with our extension and renewal expenditures. Be glad to answer any questions if you got any concerns. Right behind that, we have the extension and renewal report that shows what activity is going on in place in the last 30 days for those projects and the totals of those projects. And then lastly, but certainly not leastly, our work performances for August for the water utility. Be glad to answer any questions there.
What is the inspections down under engineering? That's the highest it seems.
And I knew you was gonna ask that question, so I called engineer and I said, hey fellas, what's this high number down here? Because I'm gonna get asked that question. They tell me we've just been getting a lot of callbacks, so like one of the things we'll go out there and do is look at the sewer tap to make sure it's clean before they move into a new home, because we've had troubles in the past. And we get out there and say, well, that sewer tap's dirty and you need to get that stuff out of there before we can cut you loose. They call us back and say, okay, we're done. And we go out there and, well, no, you're really not. You need to do a little bit more. And said, we've had a lot of that kind of re-inspection going on here lately. They did include, and I told them they might want to reconsider some ride-by looks. You know, if something was wrong, they said it was fixed, you rode by, it wasn't. I said, I'm not sure a ride-by look needs to be included on a re-inspection, so we're looking at that. At least get out the truck and do something, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Any commissioners, public comment? No executive session items, so I will adjourn.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Clayton.
Thank you, sir. Meeting of Community and Emergency Services Committee to order at 8:49. Thank you for a pledge and invocation. We have the minutes from the previous meeting, gentlemen.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
So moved. Do we have any presentations? Being none, nothing on consent agenda, we'll move to debate agenda. New business. Community and Leisure Services.
Thank you. First item is for acceptance of a bid for Patriots Park field equipment and fixtures. What that is new bleachers park-wide, player benches, trash cans, picnic tables. We didn't want to open the new section and all this new fencing park-wide with fixtures that I would venture to say are original to the 1992 construction of the park. So I believe we found some SPLOS park upgrade funds to be able to do this. Very good price. It includes assembly and install. We'd like to recommend Bliss Products for this bid in the amount of $85,135.20.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved.
Well, just a quick question. What's the schedule of finishing that job?
On the Patriots Park? I would say in the next 30 days. I was out there Sunday and walked it and looked at it. It looks good.
So we'll have these in for the opening?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
I have a question. New entrance and widening all, like, all on that area is turned into a parking lot when you go by there at like 5 o'clock. I don't know. Parking lot around back is full and people are having to park just on the side of the new stuff. Has anybody mentioned that, or have you heard anything about it?
Parking on the new,
I mean,
Section?
when you, yes, where the new road goes to the right and to the left, I mean, right there, it's just,
I think once we open the new section, it'll flow a little better. There won't be, we're gonna lock that, what is supposed to be a service gate right there. Leave it open now because there's just not as much access. There'll be a new access point when we open the new section down some steps. So if we keep that service gate closed, there'll be no incentive for people to park there. So they'll go park on the other side.
they be able to walk or climb up over that gate.
There's it's a service gate with also a little walk-through gate as well. So unfortunately, the culture right now at Patriots Park is park wherever the heck you can.
Park where you
So
can.
hopefully, maybe a little bit of enforcement and encouragement and communication, we can
I was,
fix that.
my concern was we did a lot of work, you know, and
Yeah.
redid that driveway and the grass is not taken in and people are just parking it wet at all. They gonna demolish it.
We can
We'll keep an eye, we'll
keep
keep
an eye on it.
I didn't know.
Need to put signage up or additional fencing up or whatever we need to do to protect it, we will.
Next item is provision of services agreement with City of Harlem for the Oliver Hardy Festival. Commissioners have supported this event in the past with $3,000 of hotel motel funds. We're recommending to offer that again in support of this festival. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
I have a question, sir. When did we start this? How long have we been doing this?
I cannot answer that. I know as long as I've been here. But
As long as I've been here as well, so it's at least 11 years old, 15 years old maybe, Leanne.
Okay. Anybody ever made a guess on return on investment for our $3,000?
I do think that we do get significant number of motel nights for this event, and Shelley with the CVB probably have some numbers to back that up. So I would say it's a strong investment.
Yeah, it's good for our two new hotels, although one isn't finished yet. So still have much. Okay, so moved.
Final item is for an appointment of Roderick Prince to the Community Events Advisory Board. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. And next we have Fire and Emergency Services.
A contract with EPR. Talked with,
Turn your mic on, Jeremy.
oh. Hello. We worked with the fire marshal's office because they need a software solution as well for inspections, and found or released an RFP in order to work together, and EPR was the low bidder, so it meets all of our standards and also brings us together to work with the fire marshal's office, so we share information in our getting work. So staff would recommend approval of the purchase, which is under budget, and authorizing the chairman to sign the related contracts.
Move to consent. So the 53,000 bucks term cost, but what's the reoccurring cost? Is this?
It is, the background, you see the, through year 5.
Deep,
Uh,
which of a reoccurring cost for software.
The two bidders for it were roughly the same. The other vendors that we had investigated are all over 100,000.
Here,
What,
got to get in that business.
what were we paying before?
About 6,000 a year. That doesn't exist anymore. We were under an old long-term contract for that. They came back at wanting about 107,000 just for one module. So it got ridiculous when they purchased.
What's the term of this contract?
So we did 1 year with 4 renewal options.
Second.
The option if we, us doing it, have to get a second party to do it.
So we had to stop using our old software for reporting, which they're failing to comply with the state on back in April of last year. So we've been on the state's free system. And we wanted to try that to see if that would work as a free option. It loses reports, it doesn't link them, the state has control, so you add users, they get around to it because they have one guy administering it for the whole state. So that has been very difficult to meet, not only our needs, but also to get reporting out to those that have had incidents and need it for insurance. It can cause us a lot of issues.
Is there a comment over here? Cracking jokes. I think it's already been moved. It has.
It has.
Mr. Driver, is there an upshot, an upside for this, for the county?
Downshot.
Yeah. All right. So moved. Thank you, Chief. You have no items added? Mr. Driver, now that I've alerted you, we have any matters? Always good. All right, we have staff reports, Chief.
Yes, sir. For your information, I have the year-to-date response, previous month response, and our year-to-date budget. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Gentlemen, any comments? None? All right. Thank you, Chief, for that. Do you have any public comments? Yeah, that's for you, Mr.
Russell?
Wilder.
You're on planning and zoning now, you're no longer public. Oh.
You're gonna have to wear a hat and turn it, okay. Anything for executive session? All right. Have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, we are so adjourned at 8:58. Thank you all.